So what's up everybody, this is going to be my Black Clover 319 and 320 review. Sorry I had to put these two together, but these two chapters were really good. I really enjoyed how we got to see the captains get stomped on for 2 whole chapters. Seeing Asta that messed up is definitely a first in Black Clover, I believe. So I'm very excited to see the current cast struggle with a villain this much. So let's get into these dope chapters. First of all, if you like anime, manga reviews, discussion, spoilers, and theories, definitely hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, I'm rebuilding the channel from scratch all over again. If you want to support the channel, subscribe, like, comment. Doing my best to get this channel back to how the original one was, so any help is highly appreciated. So yes, these 2 chapters were really good. I really enjoyed how outclassed in terms of magical power the current cast is when it comes to Lucifero. Seeing them struggle this much was very interesting because even though this was more in chapter 320, but in Black Clover 319 there were still some aspects of this because all the captains, majority of them at some point have been influenced by Asta. You know, they seen Asta being a peasant from Hodge village, which is the boondocks, and him not giving up, continue to fight to get to where he's at. At this moment, Asta is probably one of the strongest magical knights in the whole entire kingdom. So it's really cool to see the effect of Asta had on the magical captains, because in chapter 319 there was a dialogue where the Magic Knights say that, hey, even though we're basically nothing to you, Lucifero, we're still considered the strongest because we're the Captain Knights. So they continue fighting, and it was kind of how Asta will handle a situation, because Asta, even though he's outclassed, outmatched in terms of magical power, in terms of, you know, being privileged, he still continued towards his dream. He still continued to fight, and he became what he became now because of it. So I really enjoyed that. And also in chapter 320, seeing that as well, when Nozel, even though he got knocked really hard, he did mention, because of this peasant, I see that pretty much any adversity can be overcome no matter how far superior it is. So he was giving props to Asta. For the people that ship Asta Noel, I mean, it's pretty much a given at this point, because of the fact that Asta has influenced Noel's family so much that even the eldest sibling has a lot of respect for Asta. I mean, I know people want Mimosa and Asta to get together, and hey, you know what, Mimosa is one of my favorite characters, I'm not gonna lie. Even though she's kind of like a cheat code to Tabata, I like her design. Even though she's like kind of the stereotypical female in shonen where they're just healers, she kind of gives me the Orihime vibes. To be honest with you, if the story goes, I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up with Yuno. Some people have said that she's basically the reincarnation of the first Wizard King's sister who got married to an elf, and Yuno technically has a spirit of an elf, like the unborn child. It would be interesting to see Mimosa end up with Yuno. It could be a little foreshadowing. So with chapter 319, a common theme that I saw was that there has to be pride even if you're fighting something that's above you. So the Magic Knights keep getting knocked down, but they get back up, and you know, with them getting back up, they actually made an opportunity for Asta to strike. Unfortunately, in chapter 320 we realized that it was only going to be the horn. It was kind of obvious that Asta wasn't going to land a fatal blow to Lucifero, because it would have been too soon for Lucifero to get defeated right now. So for him just to cut off the horn, it makes sense, because Lucifero didn't expect Asta to attack like that, and he moved out the way just in time. So what both of these chapters really establish is Lucifero's superiority towards the current cast. Demon Lord Seke was crying on the floor. You know, he said that captains can't get a solid hit in. He was really surprised that there was somebody at this strength. Seke, even though he's back in the story for comedy relief, but if you think about it, Seke is not really what a magical knight should be. The theme that I've seen with Seke is that he doesn't embody what pretty much magical knights should be, the morals and characteristic that a magic knight should represent. Seke has been like that even from he was protecting the king, quote unquote. He never really protected the king, he just was there for common relief. So seeing him in chapter 319 shows the comparison of what a magical knight should be and what Seke is. Even though Seke is a magical knight, he's not really the magical knight that Asta became to be. Thinking about it, remember Asta and Seke battle against each other during the Magical Knights exam. There's a correlation right there, and it was very interesting. I really like that, how Tabata threw that in this chapter. Also, another thing that I want to talk about, Lucifero's pretty much dialogue. He had a little bit more dialogue in 319 than 320, but you truly see the essence of a king. Lucifero has the ego of a king. He feels so much superior to humans. For him to continuously say pointless when every time they're attacking, he did this as well in chapter 320. It shows that they're finding a real threat. When it came to Patri in the Elf arc, he was never really like a true villain. He just seemed like a person that was just trying to avenge his people. He was doing shady acts because of what he thought happened to his people. Lucifero, we haven't been shown his reason to want to go to the real world. Of course, he wants to get out of the underworld, and he probably does want to bring chaos, but what is his end goal when it comes to him coming to the real world? The devils seem to already be afraid of him. I mean, we seen the devil from the second level in chapter 320, and he seems super aloof. He seems like he's not going to actually try to get involved in the fight of Lucifero and the captains. So this threat that the current cast is dealing with, it's something we haven't seen before. In Black Clover 320, when Asta actually cut off the horn of Lucifero, we got to see a monstrous face from him, and you got to see pretty much the rage of a devil, and only that, the king of the devils. We kind of saw that with Libe when he was talking about getting revenge for Lasita, and he wanted to kill all the other devils. When Asta and Libe were fighting, you kind of see that devils, when enraged, they show their monstrous side, even though we see them as monsters already, but they're still kind of human-like. From what I've seen, when devils are actually enraged, they kind of come off as the devils that we will know in the real world, because I said before in other videos, devils in Black Clover are really demons in our world, because we haven't really seen too many devils enraged yet. The only two we really seen was like Lucifero and Libe. I know the twin devils, when they fused, they always had that attitude that they were playing with their toy and they can defeat them at any time, but eventually they felt fear. We never seen them enraged. Same thing with Magicula. We didn't see her enraged. She's kind of just always playing with her food until she realized that her food can actually hurt her. So it's cool to see this emotion with devils. Lucifero gets super enraged and he starts attacking Asta. You see him stomping him to the ground. There's not much Asta can do, and pretty much like what I said before, the ego of a king is showing off on Lucifero. Asta doesn't have any magical power. Lucifero can sense that, and Asta's using the power of a low-tier devil. That power of the low-tier devil cut off his horn, so of course he's going to be enraged. It's like a king getting slapped in the face by a peasant. As Lucifero is stomping Asta, he's calling him a piece of trash. How can you do this to my body? And all the captains notice that Asta's anti-magic attack worked. So right then and there, it looks like all the captains, without even saying anything, they just knew Asta is a key role to defeating Lucifero, and all of them just came to the conclusion that they must protect Asta. So it's cool to see this, how far Asta went, because if you think about it, these are the magical captains that all rejected Asta, minus the captain of the Purple Orcas. So for them to have rejected him at the very beginning of the story in the Magical Knight entry exam, to them actually now having to protect him because they want him alive for the very reason that he's their only hope, it's a big progression for the story. And also with the captains and Asta, Jack says, I can't keep letting this peasant show me up, and he attacks Lucifero. Of course, it's meaningless. In my opinion, Lucifero kept kind of saying the same thing. It was just pretty repetitive in Black Clover 320 because, you know, he kept calling Asta a piece of trash, he's magicless. Lucifero was having so many epic moments. There was a part Salamander was about to do an attack. You see Fagolion and Mariona actually giving Salamander power. So I don't know what this force tells, but this is very interesting because you see Mariona in her new like form. The only person that's really missing a new form that we all know that's gonna get a new form is her brother, and she's giving magical power to this fire spirit. Fagolion and Mariona said Asta right now is the one I'm expecting out of the most as a magical knight and as my prey. So Fagolion said as a magical knight, and Mariona says as my prey, because Mariona likes to fight, you know, strong people. Like I said before, these are all captains that rejected Asta at the very beginning of the story. Now he's the one person that they have the most faith in and expect the most out of. That is huge. I love how Asta's hard work has got to this point. Lucifero says silence, you're annoying, and knocks both of the siblings out. Lucifero goes towards Rill and he says, get out of my sight. Right then and there, you see a panel of Rill just knocked out with Fagolion just above him from what it looks like. So I said this in isn't a spoiler video, but the devil from the second level, he seems too aloof in this chapter. Of course, he probably doesn't want to get in the fight, interfere with the king of the devils. The devil of the second level said the only reason that they were able to fight is because of the nobleman's magic. He was talking about real, but the humans did it better than expected. However, they're only human. It's over. And then at the end, Yuno saves Asta. Yuno, we know that he has this elf spirit inside of him, of the unborn child, between Lit and Tatia. So I find that very interesting. Don't know what the implication of that is, but kind of implying that Yuno is human, but he's something more because of the elf spirit that's giving him wind magic. Another thing that people told me about was that Belle looks different. It looks like she's a little bit darker. Her wings look a little bit different. Yuno learning star magic might have changed her, if this is actually what happened. However, what I really like out of all of this, the fact that the prince of the Spade Kingdom is now fighting the king of the devils in the kingdom that Yuno, who is the prince, is from. It's somewhat symbolic because it's kind of showing that Yuno is fighting for his country and for the world. I think there's a connection there somewhere. I really enjoyed these two chapters. They were awesome. Black Clover's on pure fire, honestly. Every time I read a chapter, I just want to read more. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, comment, subscribe. I read the comments. Let me know what you think about these two chapters. Do you like the fact that Yuno ended up saving Asta at the end? I wonder what's going to happen moving forward with that I owe you, you owe me type of thing. What do you think about Mimosa healing Asta and possibly the captains? What do you think about Lucifero's dialogue? Do you like Lucifero's personality? I know some people saying that we haven't really gotten his personality yet, but we can already tell from the very beginning he was going to be a very arrogant person. He has the ego of a king. What do you think about the captains finally figuring out Asta is the person that they most likely should have made them go into the squad? But of course, you know, if Asta wouldn't have joined the Black Bulls, he wouldn't have gotten the progression that he got, especially because of not with the Devil Union. What do you think about the captains being wrecked these last two chapters? Did you like it? Do you not liked it? How do you feel about Lucifero as a villain so far? Do you think he's what the story needed? A super overwhelming villain? Alright, and I'm out of here.